two scenes. First scene, I think that steals the show is Lord Oscar Tully bringing everybody in. He's the new Lord. You know, the grandpa's finally dead, and he's like, you know, I'm very young. Damon's got two problems. Number one, Oscar Tully is a little child, essentially, who's going to take him seriously so he can call his banners. And number two, everybody hates Damon. So he somehow got to convince everybody to call out these banners. The only way to do that is to get Oscar Tully to do it. But are they going to take Oscar Tully seriously? And my word, we have a little like Bella Ramsey, Lady Mormont.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
situation.
Who he reminded me most of. Yeah, no, this scene is great because the other one or two times we've seen him this season, he's pretty soft spoken, and I wouldn't say he seems like incapable, but he seems unsure of himself, certainly. And of course, Damon has like no respect for him because he's a child and doesn't think he has what it takes. But Oscar Tully plays this situation like a fiddle perfectly.
He really does. He just takes on the questions. It's like, you know, Lord Tully stepped down. He's the new presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. Here he comes, just fielding the questions. He's just handling them, not worried at all. Just, you know, all these arrangements. And then he just turns the whole thing on Damon.
Yeah.
By just like, all right, well, you know, you got to kill this guy now. And Damon's like, oh, crap. And I forget his little henchman guy's
Blackwood.
name. The little Blackwood guy, who apparently George R. R. Martin, I think, is a big sides with the Blackwoods a lot in the Brackens and Blackwoods. I don't know. I was seeing a lot of memes about it.
All right.
And maybe I got that mixed around, but whatever. And he basically corners Damon into killing this guy. And that is not how I expected this scene to go.
No.
So just well done all around. Just a good classic Game of Thrones-esque scene where you have this young up-and-comer. You're not sure if you should take them seriously or not, and they just dominate.
Seems to completely earn the respect of the other lords pretty quickly, just based on how he plays that situation. Completely denounces what the Blackwoods did and everything. Yeah, it was great. Loved it.
Yeah, great scene. Godswood. Apparently, the Godswood tree has the face of George R. R. Martin.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
A little tidbit for you. The other scene I think that's really worth diving into is obviously the Red Sowing because of the people trying to claim the dragons. All right, you know, put the call out for all these illegitimate Targaryen children to come. Also, like, if I'm a Targaryen, you know, illegitimate child in King's Landing, I'm 100% thinking that this is a setup, like a trap.
Well, yeah,
like they are just trying to eliminate any claim to the throne, and let's all meet on the beach and we'll sail over to Dragonstone.
It is kind of. I mean, I know they kind of explain in the episode that they send their boats or whatever and a group of people, but it is strange to me how easy they just seemingly get from King's Landing to Dragonstone. Like there's no effort at all, basically.
Like Larys doesn't pick up on any of this. Like,
yeah,
dude, like Masari would have been all over that, man.
Yeah. Varys is just not very good.
No, Varys would be all over it. Yeah, Larys, you're just kind of dropping the ball this season, man. You're just too busy sowing little ideas with Aegon, getting his physical therapy in.
Well, and there's also that good scene early on in the episode where with Larys and the other guy on the council, where the one guy's like, there was a dragon
Lord
rider.
Jasper. I wrote his name down because I could never remember it.
He's like, there's that dragon rider that we are not aware of. Someone's writing sea smoke. And then Larys is like, but then he's like, he reveals that his like, the chain of people that he got this information from is like 5-6 people long. So
it's like
Larys
the SpongeBob bit, like my friend's cousin.
And so Larys is just like, this could just not be real.
You can go report that to him yourself. Nah, you got it, man. You can do it. That was a nice little thing. He's like, maybe we should leave this whisper to the wind. You know?
But evidently that was a bad call, because then at the end of the episode when what's his name? He has a cool Ulf. When Ulf is riding the dragon, and Aemond is like ends up chasing after him, and then they have that look at each other like, I guess it was.
Oh crap!
Something was.
thought it was sea smoke, and it wasn't. Yeah. So I mean, good for them, I guess. Yeah, so all those things are on the periphery of this, and yeah, you get the scene where Rhaenyra comes down, and the dragon keepers are like, "What? No, all these, this is a joke. You are tarnishing the good name of dragon riding with this hoax of a plan." So they leave, and she's just like, "Well, I guess I'll give everybody a little pep talk here." Standing information, let's go. You guys got them, all right. 99 times out of 100 they win, but today's the one where we win. That's a miracle, a nice thing. And they go out and
you just hit my mic.
Yeah, I did hit your mic. Yeah, and they just get inflamed by a lot of them.
Destroyed.
First off, I want to say this is a very, very incredibly well done technical achievement. The end of this episode, between like the dragon fire effects. I think the dragons in House of the Dragon, especially this second season, have just looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
The fire, because they do it like practically, it looks just so good, and they're actually lighting people on fire constantly.
So many people get lit on fire in this episode.
There's that first shot when Vermithor first initially does it. It's like just like a dozen or so people that just their heads gets caught on fire, and it just looks amazing. Because they did it for real.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine what that would be like to be a stunt person getting lit on fire like that. But looks great, because fire is the thing that CG fire just takes me out of it. And you see it all the time. So Game of Thrones and now House of the Dragon really committing to that practical dragon fire, I think makes a huge difference. And also you have kind of like a stitched together oneer of Hugh kind of going down.
Glad you called him Hugh. I was ready to call him Harold. I was like, what's his name again?
Where Hugh goes down, and it's got kind of like this handheld feel. Definitely feels ground level. It almost reminds me of the beginning of Godzilla -1, where you have this huge creature going around just causing chaos, wreaking havoc, and this character is kind of running around trying to dodge all these things, which is really, really cool. I think that part was really effective. Plot-wise, doesn't make a lot of sense to just have everybody go out there all at once. Maybe you would have queued them up, because it's like, well, if they fail, do you really want everybody else waiting in line to see them all just see the person in front of them get incinerated?
And also, like, dragon fire just has a huge range to it. Like, they're all standing right behind the person who's trying. Like, of course the others are going to get incinerated.
Rhaenyra's just got a little marshmallow on the end, stick making s'mores back there. I mean, predictably, it doesn't go very well having sent them all on the platform all at once. So.
And who would have thought that the only two characters of this of any note are the two that get dragons?
Yeah, I think that was my biggest issue with this episode is it loses like I said, technically incredible. Honestly, you couldn't have done it much better from a technical standpoint. It looks great. It's just you can tell that they prevised all this stuff, because the camera movement, everything, the effects just looks phenomenal. But the tension is not there, because there's two dragons to be claimed, and there's two people that we know. So it's very obvious that they're the ones who's going to survive, and everybody else is just a red shirt in Star Trek at this point.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it would have just been better. I mean, because it's not like we've spent a ton of time with either Hugh or Ulf. So, just build up a couple of other random characters throughout the last previous episodes, have them come over too, and then have two characters die or something. Like,
I can see why they didn't build anybody else up, because I think that would have hurt the pacing of already slowly paced episodes.
Yeah.
I do think, did we need to have these characters developed at all before this episode? I feel like we didn't.
Well, like Hugh especially is just really bland. I do not care about Hugh at all, really. They're trying so hard to make us care about Hugh.
His daughter's dead.
His daughter's dead.
And his wife's like, don't do this, Hugh.
Yeah, he's losing his job or whatever. They're very poor.
But the king said he would help us.
Every single scene with him is just like him being miserable and
punching someone over vegetables.
Yeah. So like the show really wants us to care about him. But in a twist of irony, I like Ulf more, just because Ulf is like has more personality to him, and he's been in the show less. He's just like a more interesting character, I think.
Yeah.
And he's funny too.
He just feels like a normal person.
Yeah.
Kind of like a little normal goofball guy. The actor who plays him is fantastic in the role, and he seems like having a lot of fun behind the scenes too.
Yeah.
I don't know his name off the top of my head, but like you said, like he's a scene stealer. I mean, you understand his character's personality without him having to be on screen very much.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to, number one, he's an interesting character, and then number two, the performance and the direction and writing of it.
Yeah.
Hugh, it's like, did we really need all that stuff? Because when you're watching this, watching it first time, it's the week to week format. You're like, what? Like, I know this is going to be more important later, but golly, those scenes were not helping the pacing of the other
I just feel like
episodes.
even with all that stuff, I don't know enough about him to know I to like know where his allegiances would lie or anything. Like he's just like yeah, he's gonna get a dragon, but I like with Ulf at least I could like his personality and everything. I can see I can with future episodes kind of see where he'll go. But Hugh, I just still like he's just very stoic, and I mean I guess he's had a bad life in King's Landing, so assuming Rhaenyra treats him well, he'll probably be.
He's like a Viking in hiding.
Yeah, he is. Visually, especially. But
I love how he just gives Vermithor the Tashi Duncan. Come on,
that's right.
to get him to heal. Or her. I don't know what Vermithor's gender is.
And then likewise, I like Ulf just like cowering with the dragon, but
stepping on some eggs. Like, oh crap!
The dragon tail. But in his dragon, I love the design. I think that's a very cool design. It has like big old horns on it, which I feel like most dragons in Game of Thrones don't really have that. I think that's a cool way of differentiating it. But
yeah, and he obviously gets his little joyride out over King's Landing, which was like, oh yeah, that's right. Dragonstone and King's Landing are next to each other. I kind of forget that sometimes.
I didn't know that.
Come on, Holden. Game of Thrones season 2. Rewatch it. All right. Stannis is hanging out there, and it's a threat the whole time. Okay.
That's
the
right.
Battle of the Blackwater. But yeah, no, I'm under the impression that he has no idea how to steer this thing or how to go anywhere, and he's just along for the ride.
Yeah.
And Ulf is, like you said, instantly likable. Hugh, I'm sure we'll get there, the development wise. I think it will make season 2 more fun to rewatch, knowing where the character is going. So there's that aspect of it. Obviously, you get the scene towards the end with them all sitting at the Greens sitting at their small council and hearing Dragon shouted. Aemon hops onto Vhagar, who's just parked out in the field.
Yeah, just hanging out there.
My word, Vhagar, they have done such a good job showcasing the scale of Vhagar. First off, physically, anatomically impossible for a creature that large to fly. Right? Like, I think they did a science thing where it was like Godzilla could not exist because like bones just aren't like that. They would just collapse under its own weight. Yeah, Vhagar's not flying with the laws of physics. Maybe they're different in Westeros, but she's so cool looking and just like bingo wings galore. She's an old lady. That neck is just sulked down. She needs some dragon Botox to just tighten that up. Some dragon mewing, maybe. There you go. Another Gen Alpha reference for our podcast. But yeah, no, that was all great. Obviously, Aemon decides to turn around after seeing the kind of just like Avengers Assemble a moment of all the dragons. You get again Rhaenyra looking cool off screen. Will that amount to anything this time? For once, will she actually have like kind of more confidence and stuff? It feels like we're getting there.
Seeing Aemon with some fear in his eyes for once, pretty cool.
First time since probably like taming Vhagar.
Yeah,
that he's really actually like, oh crap, what did I get myself into? Does beg the question: why didn't he just fly over with Vhagar when they had one dragon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess do they know that there are more dragons under Dragonstone? Maybe they like thought maybe that Rhaenyra had tamed them or something.
Yeah, but then they would think that Rhaenyra would probably press her advantage.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get strategically, and explain in the comments if this is on YouTube. Explain to me why Aemon wouldn't attack Dragonstone from King's Landing because he knows that Damon is at Harrenhal.
Mm-hmm.
So that therefore Damon's dragon, was that Cyrax or Caraxes? I always forget those mixed up. Is also there. And, that would leave Rhaenyra because Rhaenys is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't there just one dragon? Why don't you just take him out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess Jace, right, has a dragon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jace
so I guess there's 2 dragons, but you have Vhagar. Come on.
And now Sea Smoke as well. We didn't mention that.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed that it wasn't the memes of the dog from this. Like, who could be riding Sea Smoke? And I saw Emily sent me a meme,
dog.
and it was the dog was the one riding Sea Smoke who would claim it. No, it's Adam, right? I think it's Adam
with 2 Ds.
Adam with 2 Ds. That's right. Is meets Rhaenyra on the beach. And they are they are appropriately shouting at each other. They're not doing the whole like quietly talking Shazam 2 bit of like, I can't hear you. They're adequately shouting at each other. And Adam's just like, yeah, no, I'll join your team. My dad's Corlys, by the way. I'm not going to tell you that. But yeah. And then he does have that scene with Corlys. And Corlys is like, well done.
Yeah.
Good job. You got a dragon.
I like that. I mean, kind of maybe a slight subversion there that Rhaenyra didn't even have to try to get him. Like, I feel like
first off, like pulling him over if he's not just on, it's like, they got to put on their dragon hazards on the side of the beach. Like, that would be one task in of itself. Like, go down and I want to talk to you. But no, I thought that was a cool scene. Obviously picking up immediately at the end of the last episode. So,
Yeah.
Looking at other things that happen, Jace is upset that like all these other Targaryens who can now ride dragons are going to have a claim to his throne.
Yeah, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, Rhaenyra, what if you win? Oh, well, you'll be my heir and you'll just be the king. I'm like, that's not how the Force works. It's like, what? That's not how this works. Anybody with any remote level of acclaim will question Jace's ascension.
Yeah.
And take that opportunity. So it's like, yeah, what? Like, you gotta really have a plan in place. And it was different because when Jace had a dragon, but now if his competitor also has a dragon, that poses issues for Jace's ascension to the throne. And then you could have another dance of dragons, which would not be good. No. Because let me tell you, Holden, they're not actually dancing; they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So I'm looking through my notes here. I do have the scene where, Aegon's doing the physical therapy because Larys is just pushing him, and the Maester, Orwyn or whatever his name is, he's like...
Yeah, whatever.
He's like, dude, he needs to just lay down. He's like, no, get him going. He needs to be ready. He needs to be the king again. Alicent, my word. Why was she in this episode? It's character development. If you just show her doing absolutely nothing, wow, isn't that compelling character development?
See, I actually think I don't mind her being in this episode because she's not in it that much. And like I'm like, okay, I like that she clearly just has nothing to do in the realm of the show, and like the show's showing
it was very prettily shot. It was beautiful. Like the composition and all that was nice and all that, but I'm like, less is more. Less is more here. You did not need this.
I didn't mind because I didn't think she was in the episode that much, so it really didn't bother me.
She's not, but I'm just like I think there's just sniff their own farts a little bit, making this like you could be a little bit more concise with this thing, and I feel like they also just because we've talked about it with other episodes, they just repeat the same ideas.
They do.
It's like if you have to trust your audience that they can understand that. Oh yeah, Alicent might be like, "Wow, what is my place here? How has King's Landing affected me? Should I get away from all this?" Like, we don't literally need to have scenes of her just like laying in the lake while a hawk is flying above her. I thought it was like really funny if the hawk just like pooped on her, but I'm like, just less is more. When is it? Brevity is the source of wit or something. Whatever the Shakespeare line is,
something like that.
I thought it was unnecessary. Very beautiful, pretty, technically nice, but kind of killed the vibe of the episode for me in terms of pacing. Alan's the one, so that you have Adam with 2 Ds. Alan's the other brother, because George R. R. Martin always has to name brothers with the exact same starting letter.
Eric and Eric.
Yeah.
Except that's the opposite because it's the only difference is the first letter.
So Alan is the one who shaves his head, and the other illegitimate child of Corlys Velaryon, who is in charge of sending the message to get all the Targaryens to come.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I thought it was funny. Emily said about the dragon claiming scene. She's like, well, at least the dragons don't have to feed the dragons for a while.
It's true. Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Yes. One thing I did bring up, and I wrote down in my notes, is going back to, okay, you have both of the characters that we just know are gonna make it. It reminded me of what they could have done. Could have been like, remember The Hunt, right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
With that really divisive movie. Oh my gosh, The Hunt, the most divisive movie of all time.
Controversial movie ever
Oh
made.
yeah, it's the liberals, killing all the deplorables and all that. How that movie started with like a red herring protagonist.
Yeah, it jumped around to a few different people.
And you weren't exactly sure who was actually like the main character of the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought you could have done something like that with this. Could have.
That would have been cool.
What they did wasn't the worst thing, just lost some of the dramatic tension of the moment. And I've seen that other places too. I think everybody kind of thought that. I even put like surprised Pikachu face that Ulf claims the dragon, who could have seen that coming?
I did want to mention when like that dragon, whatever its name is,
Silverwing. I'd write that one down too.
The big one or which one?
Silverwing is Ulf's.
No,
Vermithor is Hughes.
When Vermithor first
cool
appears,
name, Vermithor
is a cool name. But when Vermithor first appears, when like Rhaenyra is like taming it or whatever she's doing,
giving it a little boop.
The sound design for that dragon is so good. It's pretty terrifying. That whole scene, I think the sound design is really good. Of just the dragon sounds super scary and everyone's just screaming in agony. It's a pretty terrifying scene. So
I like how some people would just bail right away too. They're like, yeah, you know what? Second thought, I'm not gonna do this.
I'll leave.
And the guards just force them to stay too. Mm-hmm. There's a moment of Rhaenyra being like, oh crap, yeah, I maybe shouldn't have done this. But yeah, no, I think overall good episode.
Yeah,
it's not flawless. I do think it's an episode where it's like you clearly remember the dragon bit at the end and the Lord Oscar Tully scene. But yeah, I think solid episode. Setting up the finale. I think we're due for a sea battle. I have no idea what happens next, but like there's a blockade on King's Landing. Mm-hmm. Aemond has talked about an alliance with the what do they call them? The golly, I'm blanking on them. The people in I'm completely
East India Trading Company.
Yeah, the East India Trading Company. And Corlys Velaryon, I feel like has a lot of untapped potential in this show. They like really just need to give Steve Toussaint more to work with, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a very interesting character who just hasn't had a ton to do. Mm-hmm. And then be like, good job claiming a dragon, son.
No Kristen Cole this episode.
Delivering that. Yeah, no Kristen Cole. No Otto Hightower.
Yeah. He's got to be in the next episode, right?
Oh, golly.
Please.
All right. Stay tuned for our finale discussion coming at you next week.